Good afternoon, students, and welcome back. Today we are going to start the new poem, that is The Brook, and it is written by Lord Alfred Tennyson. Okay, Lord Alfred Tennyson was born in Lincolnshire, England, and he was one of the most popular poet. And this poem is very special. Why? Because it has been written just before his death, like 6 years ago his death, and his poem have a musical quality in them because they use the sound words. What are sound words? Words which describes the sound, like ringing of the bell, rustling of the leaves, clinking of the coins. So all these are the sound words. Now when you go through the poem, you will meet new words which describes the different sound. Now what is a brook? A brook is a small river, like river, and the small tributary or a small river is a brook. So this poem is a ballad. Now what is a ballad? Ballad is a poem or a kind of a poem or a song that is sung in a very small stanzas. Like you can see in this poem also, you have four line stanzas over here. So we'll start the poem. I come from haunts of coot and hern, I make a sudden sally, and sparkle out among the fern to bicker down a valley. So you can see that the poem has a good rhyme scheme in them. We can feel that a song is being sung. Now when we talk about haunts, what are haunts? Haunts are the places where people dwell. Dwell means where people live. So the brook is in this poem, the brook is narrating her own experience, like from where it started, then from where it all crossed, and where it have reached finally. And it has some hidden messages also. So as we go through the poem, we'll go through the hidden messages also. So it is saying, the brook is saying that it comes from the haunts of coot and hern. Wherever there is written I means the brook. So haunts are the places where people live, and coot and hern are the type of birds that live in water. Okay, so it comes from the haunts of coot and hern and make a sudden sally. And when it comes from there, it rushes forward and sparkle out among the fern. Sparkle out means when the brook is coming, the sun is shining above and the water always sparkle. So when it crosses, what are ferns? Ferns are the non-flowering plants. When you go to any water body, you can see there are lots of plants, lots of greenery around the water body. And not necessarily every plant is having flowers. So they are ferns. Now when this brook passes through these ferns, it has a sparkling effect in it. Why? Because the sun is shining on it. To bicker down a valley. Now bicker down means, bickering is when we fight over very small things. It is bickering. So it is fighting over small pebbles, fighting over small plants which it is passing through, and it moves towards a valley. It moves down a valley. Valley is a place between two mountains. Okay, by 30 hills I hurry down, or slip between the ridges, by 20 thorps a little town, and 100 bridges. So now it has crossed the valley, it has moved through the hounds and coot and hern, and now it is crossing the 30 hills. So the place where it is moving through is now, it is crossing the 30 hills. So it is through the hills, it is moving very fast. Or slip between the ridges. Ridges are when on the hilltop, okay, there is a narrow place, that is narrow passage. Narrow passage on the hilltop is a ridge. So it slipped between the ridges when it is crossing the hills, and when it is moving over the hills, there is a narrow long passage, and that is ridges. By 20 thorps a little town. Thorps is villages. In Old English, like for villages, people used to say thorps. So it is the Old English. So by 20 thorps a little town, and 100 bridges. So it crosses nearly 20 villages and 100 bridges, means nearly 50 bridges it crosses through. Till last by Philip's farm I flow to join the brimming river, for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Now Philip's farm, Philip is a person and the farm is the farm in which he or she lives. So till last where after the bridges last what it crosses through a Philip's farm. And where it is going now? It is going to join the brimming river, the river which is already overflowing. What is the meaning of brimming? Something which is overflowing. Brim, when you have a glass of water and it is filled till the last point, that now if you put a single drop in it, the water will overflow. So that is the brim. Now it is now crossing the Philip's farm and now it will join the brimming river. And the next two lines are very important. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. What does these two lines symbolizes? That people may come, like nobody in this world is immortal. Those who have come in this world, they will die and they will go. But what is this Brook saying? That people will come, people will go, but it will never end. It will always go on. So it tells about the immortality of the nature, that nature is never ending. Okay, now next what does it say? I chatter over stony waves. Now this stanza is full of sounds. Chattering means when we talk a lot and we make lots of noise, that is chatter. Your teachers also say don't chatter over there. So that is making noise. I chatter over stony ways in little sharps and trebles. I bubble into eddying ways. I babble on the pebbles. So chattering is talking a lot or making lots of noise. In little sharps and trebles. Sharps and trebles both are a kind of sound. Sharps means when a sudden shrill sound comes, like when you push any table or chair, so that creaky sound which comes is sharps. And trebles means high pitched voice. Those who have very high pitched voice, those who sing opera, they all have very high pitched voice. Okay, so it is saying that when it crosses over stony ways, means over the stone when it crosses, so it makes the chattering sound, and little by little there is a sharps and trebles. There is a shrill voice and there is a high pitched voice. I bubble into eddying ways. What is bubbling? When we are very happy and when we talk very happily, like when you are happy and sharing your experience to somebody, you are happily sharing it, you are happily talking, so it is bubble into eddying ways. Eddying means that rilling motion. In the washing machine you have that spinning rilling motion, that is eddying. And bays are the curves, like when you go through any sea and when the sea is turning, so the inside portion of the sea is the base. So it bubble into eddying ways. Whenever it is going through any sea kind of a thing, it is bubbling over there. It is very happy. I babble on the pebbles. What is babble? Babble again when we talk very fast and we don't understand. So we say, why are you babbling? Talk slowly. So it babble on the pebbles. Whenever it is crossing some pebbles, it makes a sound like a babble. So see how many sounds over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sounds over here. So this stanza was full of sounds. And for these things only, these qualities only, Alfred Lord Tennyson is very famous. Now, with many a curve my banks I fret, by many a field and fallow, and many a fairy fold and set, with willow, weed and mellow. With many a curve my banks I fret means whenever it is curving, okay, the brook don't flow in a straight direction. It curves, it bends, it jumps. So whenever it is curving through where the banks means through the end of something, it is in very anger. Why? Because it has to take turns and move very fast. And by many a field and fallow. Fallow means the uncultivated farmland, the plain lands. So when it is crossing through the curves and moving through fields and the empty lands, and many a fairly foreland set. Fairy forelands are the areas in front of something. Like you have a very big house and the empty area in front of is a foreland. So fairy foreland means something which is very dreamy, very fantastic. Okay, and it is crossing over there with willow, weed and mallow. So willow, weed and mallow are all kinds of plants. So now it is describing about the land patterns, that it goes through the banks and then it goes through the fields, through the uncultivated lands, then through a fairy foreland, and where there when the land is empty, what is there? Willow, weed and mallow, the unwanted kind of plants over there. I chatter, chatter as I flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Now, what is chattering means? Again, that making noise. Whenever the river flows, it makes noise. So, now again the brook is saying, after crossing all these places, now again I am chattering and moving towards the brimming river, because men may come and men may go, but it will go on forever. So again, that wherever places, whatever places I'll cross, but I'll be there, because men will not be able to travel so much the way the brook is traveling. Okay, so this was the first part. I hope you all have understood. In the next class, I'll complete the poem. Until then, read this poem very nicely and try to write the rhyme scheme of the poem.